Good morning. Welcome. Welcome. My name is Angela. Today is Saturday, October 4th. Welcome to the live stream. My name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript because we love the basics here. We don't have anything, we are not in denial about frameworks and libraries. We don't not use them. I personally have been an Angular, well, most primarily Vue and Angular user. Have never used React. I just really enjoy practicing the basics. And that's what we do here. So welcome. So if you're into that, if you like front-end development, if you like to practice, that's what we're doing here. So I hope that you are doing well. Let's chat about what we are currently working on. We are currently working on, excuse me, a clone of a home page of a website called Nitpicks. Let me pull it up here. I'm going to pull up the actual site, but really we're working off of a screenshot. So this is Nitpicks. This is a website where you can buy yarn and fiber and tools for knitting. I know of this site because I am a knitter and a crocheter, and I've been buying yarn from Nitpicks for years, for a long time. I really enjoy their stuff. So let's take a look at an actual screenshot that I took a couple of weeks ago that we're working off of. And that's sort of serving as our mock-up. And last week on Sunday, we wrote out all of the HTML for our homepage clone. And here's the thing, I am not using any Nitpicks assets. So I'm not using any of their logos, their branding, their images, anything like that. I'm just using their layout, and I'm rebuilding their homepage as a site for a project that I have going called Fiber and Craft. I had to think of the name for a second there. It's called Fiber and Craft. Let me pull it up here. So here's our mock-up. And like I said, I took this picture a couple of weeks ago. I thought that I had some guides, but I don't appear to. Let's see here. Where are my guides? I don't remember where my guides are. View. Guides. Did I delete all my guides? It's possible I did that. I don't remember doing that, but it appears that I did. That's fine. Here's our mock-up. Let me get some more guides in here. Oh, is that it? No. There we go. I don't remember deleting my guides. We'll just pop a couple in here. They weren't really precise markers. It was really just about sort of mapping out the containers. And the reason that I want them in here, especially today, is because we're going to work on this header. And we're also going to work on the mobile navigation. Really, my goal for today is to style the header and the mobile navigation and write a little bit of JavaScript to make sure that we are accessible and mobile responsive. Let me check something here. Okay. Well, with that being said, do me a favor, if you haven't yet, go ahead and like this video. Helps me push it out to the algorithm, helps me find more people who might be interested in front-end development. And if you're not subscribed yet, I hope it goes without saying that I would love to have you as a subscriber. I stream every Saturday and Sunday. I just go online for a couple of hours, usually about 2 hours, and we just do vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Everything I do is project based. So I pick a project, something I'm interested in working on. It usually takes a few weekends. So it could take a couple of weekends. It could take about a month. I think this project is going to take us the majority of October. So here we go. Let's get organized. Let's go ahead. I don't think we did this last week. Let's just pop open our local environment. And if we scroll through, you can see that this is obviously a mess. It's exactly how I would expect it to look. And I haven't changed any of the images yet. I did grab one image from my own collection and sort of put it in as every single image. I do need to go through this site and replace all of the images, which I meant to do this week. I just didn't have time for. I did create my own logo. This is an SVG. Again, this is my side project called Fiber and Craft. And I also need to go through and replace the text, because I have new text that I'm going to rewrite for this site. So, and I just haven't gotten to it yet, but that's okay. We don't need that in order to start writing this CSS and like giving this homepage some shape. So, and we have somebody in the chat. Hello, NCCB. Hi from South Africa. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Happy to have you. So let's get started. Let's, like I said, last week we created all of the HTML. We spent a full day just going through top to bottom, left to right, and creating all of the HTML. So let's go ahead and get started with our styles. Starting with creating a style.css. We'll go ahead and get started writing just some base styles. Let's also create a normalize.css. Normalize is a browser reset. Back in the day, like 10, 12 years ago, I've been a developer for 12 years. I started learning development though about 15 years ago. And browser resets were a very big deal when I started learning in 2009, 2010. I think they're still recommended now. I still use Normalize. Different browsers do have different base styles. It's called the user agent style sheet. Normalize is considered a browser reset, but it's, in my opinion, not as aggressive as a true browser reset. Normalize, in my opinion, sort of smooths out and normalizes, literally, the different browsers. Malik Robinson is here. Malik is one of the mods. Good morning. Good morning. I'm happy you're here. Malik, I owe you a code review. I'm so sorry I haven't gotten to it yet. I had a very busy week. A very busy week. Let's get started, shall we? Oh, one moment. Just give me a moment. Hold, please. And no one is here. Hello from Asia. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Oh, that's my dog barking, Heidi. She sometimes thinks, puppy, I'm not talking to you. Come here. I think she wonders who I'm talking to. Okay, good. No big deal whenever you have time. I just had a busy week. My time management skills this week were not in peak condition. So, okay. So normalize CSS. right. And let's go ahead and add these. Get these linked. So there's normalize. Make sure that comes after, or excuse me, before your style sheets. We also need to grab some typography. And I said that I wasn't going to look at the NickPix source code. So let's just sort of take a look here and see what we think some of this typography might be. So I think that we have, clearly we have both serif and sans serif. I would say that the serif is used for headers and the sans serif is used for pretty much everything else. So I'm going to guess that the serif is open sans, or maybe, let's see. No, not open sans. Let's just peruse some of the sans serif fonts here. I know I've seen it before. Oh, Lado. No, it's not Lado. Let's do this. We're gonna have to put these next to each other. Whoop. Can I collapse this? No. Nodo sans. Maybe I feel like it might be, yeah, like maybe this Nunito. Nope, it's not, because the Y is different. This is a little too spaced out. Carla. Nope, the G is different. Fig tree. It doesn't have to be an exact match. Yeah, it doesn't have to be an exact match. I just would like it to be somewhat similar. Fig tree. Look at the Y and look at the G. And the T also. I think this looks pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. Yeah, I'm gonna go with fig tree. These are from a different project. We'll take those out. And then let's make our best guess at what we think this serif font is. And we're not trying to this is just an exercise in observing different styles. That's all this is. So if you are cloning a website and you want to look at the source code and see what fonts they're using, and they're free fonts, even if they're paid fonts and you want to go buy them and use them, go ahead and do it. But for me, this is just an exercise in sort of being observant in what the site I'm using, what they're using, seeing if I can match it just with my own eyeballs. That's really all it is. And it's a good exercise. So in my opinion, this serif font is what I would call soft. It feels very soft. It doesn't feel aggressive. In fact, let's just, can we type in? I'm just going to type in. Oh, this might, is this it? No, because the A's are different. And if we go back here, yeah. Oh, it could be PT serif. See, the A has this little tick off to the left. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Just to see if I can find something similar. Not quite right. Libra Caslon text. What do we think? It's not exactly the same. It's very similar though. And they have they only have 3 styles. It'd be nice if they had a bold. They go from 400 to 700. Let's just keep looking. What about this? Gilda display. Only has 1 style though. Okay. Let's see what's happening in the chat. NCCB says, what do you use check and clone website? I don't know if I understand the question exactly. Is there any particular program? Oh, I think you're asking me, this is Affinity Photo. So this is a Photoshop competitor. I think you could use Figma Sketch. Is that what you're asking me? I'm not sure. So that's what I'm using. I just took a screenshot. I just used the browser to take a screenshot, and then I put it in Affinity Photo. So, and it looks like I actually have my first super chat ever. $3. Yes. After more than a year, I am not fully monetized. I am partially monetized, meaning I don't have enough watch time yet. I'm going to switch here. I don't have enough watch time yet to get AdSense, but I have enough watch time hours to enable memberships and super chats. So Malik Robinson, you are my first ever super chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. That is so cool. It's a $3 donation and I really appreciate it because this is a lot of hard work, but I do it because I absolutely love it. So I hope that goes without showing. Malik, thank you. You are a few words about Malik, formerly Go Elmo Go, one of my biggest cheerleaders and supporters, and I am eternally grateful for the support that I get from everybody and from Malik in particular. So thank you so much. It means a lot to me. Terry Murray, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Terry. Mumbai Server is here. Hello, Mumbai Server. We are happy to have you. Mumbai Server, you can use an extension to find the same font. Extension name is what font. So I am purposely not doing that because I want to just use my own observation skills to find a font that matches. So I am purposely not looking in the browser or the dev tools to see what font they're using. I just want to do it based on my own skills of observation. That's sort of my goal with this clone, is to not actually look at the nitpick source code or try to figure out what font they are using. So I hope that's not too frustrating. So, no one says, I think the nav bar and carousel will be the most difficult parts, especially since the nav bar's opacity needs to change on scroll. Interesting. I have a little trick up my sleeve for that. So stay tuned so you can see how I approach that. I do have a way that I do that specifically. So stay tuned. You'll have to let me know what you think of my approach. Rizzy G, are you going to do a clone of the whole website? No. Nitpicks is a massive e-commerce website. I am only cloning the home page so I can build a landing page for my particular project. That's it. And so the point of this exercise is to show people, because I do get a lot of comments in the chat, where do I find mockups? I can't find the mockups that you use. I don't know where to find mockups. So the point of this is that you could take any website that you like, that you think looks cool, take a screenshot of it, and you can clone it for any purpose. So Nitpicks is very specifically an e-commerce site. My personal side project, Fiber and Craft, is not an e-commerce site. I just want to build a landing page to support my little side project. That's all I want to do. So the whole point of this is just pick a design that you think is cool and then use it as a guide, as a mock-up to build out a project. It's also a great way to practice your own skills, right? And then you don't need to go out and pay for mockups, because a lot of the mockups I use on my channel are mockups that I paid for. Not everybody has the disposable income to go out and buy those mockups. So that was the reason I decided to do this particular project. So, but that's a good question. So thank you for asking that question. I realize now maybe that hadn't been clear. So I'm going to use Gilda Display because I don't want to spend too much more time. Let me see here. I'm going to use Gilda Display because I don't want to spend too much more time on this. And we're going to get the look and feel of Nitpicks that I want to achieve. So Fig Tree is going to be the typeface that we use on the body element. Gilda Display is going to be the typeface that we define for all of the headers. So that's that. So there we go. We have our fonts, we have Normalize, and we have our style sheet. And so we'll tuck this away. Don't need that. And Rizzy G says, have you ever used embedded JS to make templates while doing back-end projects? I don't think so. I say I don't think so because I can't off the top of my head think of something where I specifically said to myself, I'm embedding this while doing back end. I haven't made very many full stack projects. I mean, I'll just be perfectly honest with you. The last 7 years I spent at the University of St. Thomas. We did everything with Vue.js. So I'm pretty good working with Vue. We had an entirely separate team that did all of the back end work. So my work was in marketing and on the front end development and all the front facing websites for the university. And we worked in a huge proprietary CMS that used Velocity for templating. So everything I did was very front end focused. I mean, data got saved in a database in the CMS, and then I would sort of use the data in the database and I would build like third-party APIs, build all of that out with Vue.js, but I didn't have my fingers in the database. So it's not like a traditional back-end developer who is not only managing the database, but building the APIs off of the database. It just wasn't the same system. In fact, what I did was not even in the spec of the CMS. It was a little bit hacky. It was just a method that I figured out for pulling data out of the CMS and building really just JSON files. I don't even know if you could fairly call them APIs, but I did. So I'm like a pseudo full stack developer in that I know how to get my hot little hands off of information and I can build an API, but I am not a true full stack developer when you think about somebody who's really doing the authentication and sending information back and forth to a database or a server. I am very front end UI focused. I would say that more than anything, I am a bit crafty and clever when it comes to those types of things. So that's another reason why my channel is so UI focused. It's because that is just what I am most comfortable with. I hesitate to do any content on full stack or back end unless it's something I really, really understand, because it's just not my strength and I also don't super enjoy it. So, oh, I understand. Embedded JS is basically like PHP where you put variables and server-side render HTML pages. Oh, yeah, interesting. I've done a little bit of that. Interesting that you bring up PHP, Rizzy, because I am a lover of PHP, especially when it comes to, because I am an advocate of deployment and just more front end developers knowing how to run like a good old fashioned LAMP stack, the most basic server setup on the planet: Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. Especially if you are a lover of building static websites like I am, putting a little bit of PHP to your static website for templating, or even building your own little homemade CMS with just like static TXT files or a little mini API or JSON file, it's incredibly powerful and it is such low overhead. You don't need Node, you don't need a compiler, you just need a good strong Linux setup with Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, and you have a heck of a setup. So from that perspective, yes, I do that all the time with PHP in my personal projects and on my personal website. My personal website is all templating with PHP. I love it. So I'm more front-end oriented. I don't struggle much with JS, but CSS kind of scares me. See, now we are the exact opposite. I do not struggle with CSS. JavaScript scares the shit out of me. I am not good at it, and it makes me incredibly nervous to be as vulnerable. It makes me feel nervous and vulnerable to even write a single line of JavaScript in a live stream, because I'm like, oh, people are going to figure out I'm a fraud. I have no idea what I'm doing because I struggle with it a lot. So we all have our thing, right? That's why we need to practice. That's why I'm here. So especially with large projects, small ones are fine, but I have trouble managing when it gets super long. Yeah, I mean, it just takes practice. It just takes practice. Yep, LAMP stack is amazing for spinning up websites quickly for small business, cost effective and powerful. Absolutely. In fact, I want to start doing, one of my goals for 2026 is to start doing more deployment related content, and it is going to be around LAMP stacks, rsync, even FTP, teaching new front-end developers how to buy a domain name, configure their DNS settings, rsync or even FTP up to a managed server, and get their sites live. Because I think deployment tools, as amazing as they are, there are too many front-end developers right now who don't really know how to deploy and get their things into production. And I think that is an important part of being a front-end developer, and an important part of being a team, that you can not only do the work of a front-end developer, but that you have a place at the table amongst your team where you are talking about your organization or your team's deployment process. And I don't know how developers can have those conversations with their teams if they don't know how to do the deployment themselves. So that's a part of this channel that I want to branch out into and do more of in the future. So, and Idris is here. Welcome. Also formerly known as Memory Clips. Have a nice evening. Welcome. We're happy to have you. Rizzy G says you should look up UML and low-level system design. That methodology just breaks down everything, so you take most of the guesswork out. I will look it up. I know what UML is. I'm pretty sure I know what UML is. Hang on. Is that the same as UML diagrams? UML. Okay, let's see here. I love this conversation, by the way. I love it. A UML developer is a software professional who uses the unified modeling language to create a standardized diagrams that visualize and document the design, architecture, and behavior of complex software system. So is this what you're talking about? I mean, I did this in school. So I have a software engineering degree, and we did UML diagrams. So I will admit that UML diagrams are not a normal part of my development process, but I'm also, because I'm more focused on the UI and building UIs, I think of UML diagrams as being something that you need when you're building those backend processes and you're building classes, right? You're building custom classes. So this is not a normal part of my process, but if this is what you're talking about, I did learn this and I do understand it for the most part, but I'm wild out of practice. I am one of them. I do struggle with deployment. I struggle with DNS and managing domains too. I do most of my hosting with GitHubs and sometimes Netlify. You know what? You're in the perfect place then, because the project that I'm working on this weekend, we are going to deploy this project. I'm going to show you my deployment process. I'm going to show you how I do a server setup on DigitalOcean. So I do all of my hosting on DigitalOcean. I've been on DigitalOcean for 10 years. I manage everything on a LAMP stack. I do all of my deployment with rsync. I personally love managing a cloud server and managing my own DNS settings. So I'm going to show you guys, as part of this project that we're building, how I do that, because I do have the domain name fiberandcraft.com. So I'm going to show you how I create a virtual host, how I configure my DNS settings. We're going to have to configure some settings for mail, the mail server. Well, not really, just MX settings to make sure that the mail goes to the right place. But I'm going to show you how I do all of that stuff. So that is all a part of this project, and I'm going to be including it as a larger part of the process for future projects. So stay tuned if you want to know how to do that, because it is an incredibly important part of front-end development, not just so you can see your own projects in the browser, but like I said, it is important that even as junior developers or new developers, when you start working on teams, that you can have a voice at the table with your team and talk about the deployment process. And that's going to be harder for you to do if you don't actually understand deployment. So I want you guys to know how to do that stuff. And in my internship, there was a guy in my team who deployed through AWS Lightsail, but we switched to a local cloud provider due to cost. Yeah, AWS is really expensive. We used AWS at St. Thomas, which is where I worked for 7 years. But my experience on DigitalOcean for many years, I was really able to come in and shape our deployment process. And then once I became the manager of front-end development and I oversaw all of our front-facing websites, I wrote all of the policies and all of the best practices for our deployment process. The branches, the code reviews, when we deploy, the QA for pre and post deployment, that stuff's incredibly important. And it doesn't have anything to do with CSS or JavaScript. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual code that you write. But I would argue that it is almost more important than the code that you write, because if you don't understand the deployment, then no one's going to see the work. So it's really important, but it's a process. There's a lot to know. So, okay. I love this conversation. Rizzy G, thank you so much for being here and putting so many thoughtful comments and questions into the chat. I love it. I absolutely love it. Clearly, I enjoy talking about this kind of thing. So, okay, let's get started writing some CSS. Should we? Shall we? Okay, 2 more comments and then I'm going to get started. So please don't have hurt feelings if I don't respond for a little bit after these next 2 comments. And Idris says, I tried Vercel basically to deploy my HTML CSS web page for free. It gives 100 gigs free plan, but the user must be so carefully to give credit card later. They take a lot passing the free plan. Oh yeah, they're sneaky. They're very sneaky. You guys will love DigitalOcean once I show you. Very affordable and very powerful. And Rizzy says, I have carried out some freelancing here and there, and most small businesses who need a website deployed are willing to bear more costs to make changes and access their websites easier. Yeah, like a back end is what I think you're talking about. So, yeah, because if you don't have experience with a CMS or you're not able to build out a back end for your clients, then they have to pay you to make any content or image updates. And they will pay more to make sure that they have better access. Although I have to say, though, I have clients who I built custom WordPress websites for a decade ago, and they have never logged into their sites. They always pay me to do the updates for them. So there are clients that do exist that are willing to just have a developer make content and image updates for them, even when I do give them back-end access. So there's that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to dive in to some CSS. If I don't respond to a comment right away, please do not have hurt feelings. I will get to you after we get, oh, this is not what I wanted. I will get to all of the comments in the chat because I love, love, love responding to comments in the chat. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with just some base root styles. So I'm going to start with white and black, but I never do pure black. I usually do like a dark kind of charcoal gray. And then I'm gonna do kind of like a light gray and then an actual light gray. And we do need to define some more colors. We might actually want to do that now. Let's go to Adobe Color. And let's see here, create, extract. And this is the image that I added last week. Let's just pull a color palette out of this. And if you haven't used Adobe Color before, oh, whoops, that's not what I wanted. If you haven't used Adobe Color before, I know there are other apps that do this. It's very powerful and it's really fun. Just take an image that you like, and we've got some options here. So I'm going to go, let's try bright. muted. Ooh, I like that. Deep. I like that too. Dark. I kind of like colorful. And so we get a snapshot here of what this is. So let's do this. And then we're going to we can do these one at a time. So we'll go navy. And this is yellow. Gold. I'm going to call this tan. And what is this? Maroon. Maroon. And then I think we can check See, this frustrates me because I feel like you should be able to go directly from extract theme to accessibility tools and it'll just have the colors here. Clearly it's not working that way. So let's do this instead. Color, contrast, checker. We'll just do this instead. So let's just wrap our head around what exactly passes contrast and what doesn't. So if our background is white, I'm pretty sure this navy is going to be fine, but let's just make sure. Yep, no problems there. I don't think this gold is going to pass anything, or yellow rather. Yeah. Fails across the board. So this yellow is going to have to be purely an accent color. It can't be used for text or any graphical objects, anything like that. Let's see how gold does. So the gold will work for large text and it'll pass the WCAG AA standard, and it also passes for graphical user objects. Large text is right here. Large text is defined as 14 points, typically 18.66 points, and bold or larger. So we just have to remember, so probably 18.66. So let's do this. We're just going to say large text 18.66 px. Well, really, we would want to do that as rems, wouldn't we? So let's do this. So 16 is 1 rem divided by 18.66. I think I went in the wrong direction. 18.66 divided by 16 is 1.16625 rems. 1.16625 rems. So that's going to be our large text size, or our minimum. Here, we'll do, let's just call it the minimum large size. .66 pixels. There. And what about the tan color? Oh, and this also passes for large text. So gold and tan pass for large. So far navy will work for everything. Let's see what this will. And this also passes for everything. So this is large only. Tan is large only. This is all. Oops. This is all. This is accent only. And this is all. So now we know what works where. All right. So now we have a color palette. And we'll tuck those away just in case. Okay. So now let's start with some base styles. So on HTML, I always say box sizing. On the HTML element, I always say box sizing border box. And then I do wildcards for before, after, and then just a wildcard. Also box sizing border box. And then on my body element, I say padding 0, margin 0. Oh, and we forgot to grab our fonts. Hang on. Let's go back to Google. Let's grab the names of our fonts. So Fig Tree is the sans serif and Gilda is the serif. So I'm going to put Fig Tree on the body. The weight to 400. And I'm going to say font size 100%. Oops, every time. Line height 1.65%. That's the line height that I tend to always go with on the body styles. Line height is meant to be a unitless number. I think the browser will accept units like pixels, rems. It's meant to be a unitless number. It is a multiple of the font size. Then I'm going to say color black. That's for all of our text will be black. And then background color is white. Just like that. So these are the body styles that I always start out with. Next, let's just do some kind of generic styles. So figure, because I use figure tags for everything, browser always gives figures a lot of margin. So I'm going to set that to 0. And then images are by default display inline. I always set them to display block. Really helps with styling. We say max width 100% and height auto. That keeps them nice and responsive. Good base styles for images. I also like to do base styles for SVGs. SVGs by default are also display inline, so I set them to display block. Sometimes I do display inline block because I still want them to be in line with a lot of text. I don't think I need to do that for this project, but we can switch it if we need to. But changing them to display block makes it so much easier to style your SVGs. I'm also going to do a width of 3 rems and a height of 3 rems. And this will probably change. I do this just because you're going to see here. Do you see how dramatically different our page looks now? It just helps get the page under control when you set a width and a height and change those SVGs from display inline to display block. And then we can go through our page and fine tune the sizes of those SVGs. But it just kind of gets the page back into shape. The other thing that we need to do is SVGs almost always have a ton of inline styles, and you will have a very difficult time styling your SVGs, the fill and the stroke, if you don't go through and take out those inline styles. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. This is the logo. I don't know if our logo has any inline styles. Let's do this. Let's just search. Let's search for fill. Just so we can see what we're up against. So here we see fill none. This is a great example. Fill none, stroke current color. We can leave fill none here because this is the SVG saying this SVG has a border, it doesn't have a fill. And so that's completely fine. It's the stroke. So let's go through and highlight everything that has current color. And it doesn't looks like there's only 2. So we're going to take out current color and leave that attribute blank. But I know that the SVGs that we used had a, did we use other SVGs? I could be confusing this with another project. But let's go through and see. So there's stroke. We'll do stroke equals. That's it. Those are the only 2. Let's do fill equals. Those are the only 2. I might be thinking of a different project. I work on 2 or 3 projects a week at this point, and sometimes they get a little mixed up. Okay, but the point is, take out your inline styles. If you see SVGs, leave the attributes in, that's fine. Just take out the inline styles, and then you will have a lot of control over the styling. So here's a good example. So globally for SVGs, let's just go ahead and do a fill var, and I'm going to put in gold. And actually, I spelled that wrong. Let's see here. Yellow. Just want to show you an example. So we'll do fill yellow, and we'll do stroke, I'm just going to say blue. And you can see what has a stroke and what has a fill, and how you can control. I don't think this design has that many SVGs. You could see there what gets control. So I'm going to set these back to black, and then we'll come back, and we have complete control now over styling, is my point. If you leave those inline styles in, those inline colors in, and you have trouble styling your SVGs, that's the reason why. So one of the beautiful things about using SVGs is that you have this control with CSS. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we're back to black. Looks great. Let's go ahead and give our buttons some base styles. I know people a lot of times like to use appearance none. I don't like to use appearance none. So I'm just going to do border none and background color none, or rather transparent. That is just the way that I like to do it. And you can see now that that cleared out those styles for the buttons. Let's go ahead and style our anchor links. So I'm going to say color. I'm going to use navy. Well, we could use the maroon. Let's use the maroon. And then I'm going to say text, decoration color, transparent. Text decoration thickness, I'm going to do 3 pixels. And then text underline offset, I'm also going to do 3 pixels. And we'll do a focus. Whoops. Hover. And active. Text decoration color is going to be maroon. And then let's add a transition. So we're going to transition the color from transparent to maroon, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. And you can use any transition that you like. That's just the one that I like to use. And you can kind of see here, you can see that working. That works here too. And then let's grab, we need some styles for Access Hidden. Access Hidden is a class that I write for screen reader friendly text. Let me grab it here from my GitHub. I can never remember it, so I always have to go get it. Let's see here. No. What in the wide world of sports? Where is it? How do I not have it in that repository? I don't know. I'll do this. Here it is. So these are screen reader friendly. This is a screen reader friendly set of styles. So if we have text that we don't want to be visible on screen, but we need it to be accessible by a screen reader, that's what we use. That's what I use. And you can see now that the text that was here for these social media icons is gone, but it's still accessible by a screen reader. So there's that. We'll do more styles for buttons once we get to the point where we're actually styling the buttons. We'll do more styles for images and SVGs. These are just base styles that I like to start with. So now let's get started working on this header and navigation. And I'm going to check the chat. So Rizzy is asking, when you were just starting out with CSS, did you learn through a course or did you learn at school or through books and trial and error? I think back when it was tougher, let's see here, when you had to use floats. I was an expert at floats, for the record. I was actually kind of amazing and I resisted learning Flexbox for a very long time until I actually worked in an agency where I had to know how to use Flexbox for the projects that I was working on, the tasks that they were giving me. So I learned by trial and error. I mean, I just had ideas for projects, things that I wanted to do, things that I wanted to build. And I just was like, well, I want it to look like this, so how do I do that? I did the first web design course I took was an actual class that I went to. It was an adult community education class at my local community college, which was wildly helpful. It really helped me get started. I also learned from, what was this book? A book called HTML5 Murox. Yes, this right here. So this book was amazing. I mean, when I got this book was recommended when I was in graduate school the first time. When I got this book, I sat down and read it like the first 100 pages in one setting. It was so good. It really helped me get started learning. And almost everything I did was like trial and error. I took some online courses. I mean, I remember wanting to learn SAS and SCSS, and I took a LinkedIn Learning or a lynda.com SAS class to just understand variables and things like that. Almost everything that I've learned how to do with CSS is just through trial and error, just trying to figure stuff out. So, and just constant practice and constant building things. So, I read an article about a college student who was charged $50,000 by Vercel because he was using their free service and it got hit with a DDoS attack. Really? A college student who was charged $50,000 by Vercel because he was using their free service and it got, oh, that's not good. Programming something from scratch feels like magic almost. I totally agree, which is why I love doing it, because after 12 years, you guys see how excited I still get seeing my work in the browser. So, could you build masonry layouts back then with floats and positioning like stuff CSS Grid does? Well, with floats, absolutely not. With positioning, yes. I think you guys would be shocked at some of the sites that I've worked on, some old static sites that I worked on where the layout was pure absolute positioning. It's a nightmare. It's absolutely awful. So the answer is yes, you can do it with positioning, but that's obviously not flexible or dynamic in any way, shape, or form. Masonry layouts for a very long time were done with, what's the library? Is it just called Masonry JS? Isn't there a Masonry JS? Yeah, Masonry JS. This is what people used for years and still use now to do grid layouts. I do all of my masonry layouts using CSS columns, but the content is arranged in columns. It's not arranged in rows. And a lot of people don't like that because it's very difficult to have dynamic content. You can't have dynamic content or do like page loads with column-based layouts. It just doesn't work with content. So if you having that in mind, if your content works with a more static column-based layout, my preference is to use columns and to not use CSS Grid. But yeah, everybody has to kind of decide for themselves. So Masonry JS was what people used back in the day. It was very, very popular, Masonry JS. Everybody used it because Pinterest came out. When did Pinterest launch? I mean, I remember in the beginning, Pinterest was invitation only, and I got somebody that I knew that I worked with gave me an invitation for Pinterest, and I thought it was so cool, and I was obsessed with masonry layouts. And I did play around with Masonry JS, but my JavaScript skills were so bad that I had trouble even implementing JavaScript, like even just a library. It was very difficult for me, so I didn't really pursue that. I stuck mostly with HTML, CSS, and I was also a WordPress developer for a really long time. So yeah, once you get floats, Flexbox, and Grid feel like a walk in the park. I mean, I remember being so good at floats, being so resistant to do anything other than sticking with that once I did learn Flexbox, my mind was completely blown. I couldn't even believe how easy it was. And then because I was so good at Flexbox, I was very resistant to learning Grid. I didn't start using Grid until just a couple of months ago. Now I'm using Grid and my mind is blown even more because it is I think it's even easier than Flexbox. So, and no one says, I think back then people were using table with border transparent for grid-like UIs. Yeah, in the early days, like when I took my first HTML and CSS, like web design class in 2009, was it the winter of 2009? It might have been like January, February 2010. We were taught table-based layouts, but that was the last time I ever took a course or ever even saw somebody attempting to teach table-based layouts, because I quickly learned after building my first website with a table how to do floats. Like within a few months I learned how to do floats, and and everything after that point in 2010 was all about floats and clearing your floats and understanding how to get your layouts to work with floats. So and Rizzy says, I used to despise CSS, but when I saw what it can do and how it can literally make a website look amazing, I'm willing to learn it. It just takes practice. It really just takes practice. Everything that you guys see me doing on these weekend streams, it's just years of practice. That's all it is. So and I would and I would encourage you that if you want to be good at CSS, there's nothing wrong with Tailwind. There's nothing wrong with CSS libraries. There's nothing wrong with Bootstrap or Foundation. I would just encourage you to try building 1 or 2 projects using vanilla CSS in order to really, really learn it. If you have a desire to be good at it, I also think that that's kind of the beauty of front-end development, is that there's lots of different types of front-end developers. There's front-end developers like me who are very UI focused, and there are other front-end developers who are very framework and what I would call back-end focused, full stack focused front-end developers, right? Because JavaScript is considered a front-end language, but let's be serious about what Node has made possible with JavaScript, and the number of people who are like React builders and API builders, but they don't particularly enjoy the front end or the UI part of being a front end developer. So I don't know, just my opinion, just an observation. So if you want to be good at something, you just need practice. That's literally the only thing that separates you, is a little bit of practice. So you can do it. I believe in you. Okay, let's get back to getting this header. Let's get this header where it needs to be. So I'm going to say, how do we want to approach this? So our header is, here's our header. Here's this little top banner. I think we also have some padding on that. Let's do a style for our paragraphs, which let's just remove the margin by default. And let's start with this banner class. And in our mock-up, the banner is this kind of orangey red color. I'm going to make it navy. So I'm going to do a background color of navy, and I'm going to make the text white. And then let's just do text align center. And let's give it just a little bit of padding, like maybe 0.5 rems on the top and bottom, 1 rem on the left and right. There we go. And then we clearly need to make sure that our anchor links for this section. Whoops. Color is white. But we need to make sure that on hover, that we have the correct underline focus. So our text decoration color is going to be white. There we go. All right. So next we have this nav container. And the nav container has a few things going on here. So we've got the H1, the button for the menu, the nav element for the main navigation, and the nav element for the social. The first thing I want to do is I want to hide the open button and the close button because those are for mobile only. So I'm temporarily going to take the menu button class and we're just going to hide those till we get to it. So I'm just going to say display none for now because I just need those to be out of the way till I get to that part of the styling. And so now with those out of the way, for all intents and purposes, I've got an H1, a nav, and a nav, 3 items. And we're inside the nav container. Oops. And I'm just going to say display flex, flex flow, row, no wrap, justify content, space between, so that first and last item are right up against the edge, align items, center, and there we go. So clearly our SVG here. And let's just refresh our memories on what's happening here with the Nitpicks website, because there are some things that I'm going to do differently. Oops. Up. Okay. What just happened here? Go back to the home page. Okay. Also, everything is hot. Everything is hot on the Nitpicks website. So be careful where you click. It's going to take you someplace. I don't like this. I don't like that in order to really see this navigation, you have to hover. In my opinion, that's bad UI. I don't think that that's a good way to do that. I think at the very least, you should have some opacity up here, and on hover, you could go full opacity. So this is just not good UI to me, so I'm not going to do this. So let's put on our header, I'm going to do a background color, and we'll do a little bit of opacity. So I'm going to do some RGBA, so 255, 255, 255, with an alpha transparency of 85%. And you're not really going to be able to see that now because we don't have that overlaid, but we can go ahead and do that. Let's do that now. So on our body, do we want to do fixed or sticky? I guess we could do, no, we would want to do fixed because we want to take it out of the flow. So on our body element, we'll do position relative. And then our header is going to be position fixed. And then let's make sure that we give that a width of 100%, and we'll give it just a padding of 1 rem for now. There you go. Can you see that now? Let's take out the padding on the left and right. There we go. Nothing underneath is styled, but you can see what's going on here. We have some, oh yeah, we're going to want to take out the padding, I guess. There we go. What's happening up on top here? Trying to figure out what's pushing that down. There's something. Do we just need to say top 0? That's it. That's what we just needed to do. We just needed to say top 0. So we'll say top 0. I'm going to say left 0. There we go. So let's get our nav lined up here. So we've got two things. We've got class navigation, and then we've got nav class social. These could maybe share. Also, I'm going to do display flex. Flex flow row. No wrap. I'm going to say justify content center, align items center, and we'll give these a gap of 2 rems. Oh, wrong element, Angela. So we actually need to do these on the UL, the main nav and the main social. Main social. We also need to say padding 0 because they're unordered lists, and we need to say margin 0. And the browser by default gives them padding and margin. And we need to say list style type none to remove the bullets. There we go. It's a pretty good start. It's shaping up. And then let's get our logo over here sorted out, which is our primary logo right here. So it's taking some of these global styles. This is a situation where we're going to change the style. Go right here. So this is the primary logo SVG, and probably want to do a width of maybe about 250 pixels. I'm going to go with that for now. We can adjust that if we need to. And I'm going to say height auto. And I'm also going to say max width 100%, just to keep it flexible. There we go. And that actually did a pretty good job. That did a pretty good job centering it. Let's give our nav container a little padding on the left and right. So I'm just going to say padding on the left and right of 1 rem for now. We can adjust that if we need to. Look at that. Look at that. And these are already styled. There's really nothing else that we need to do here. I'm going to leave them maroon. Maybe we could make that logo a little smaller. Yeah, maybe we could make that logo a little smaller. We could also do, well, I don't think that matters. I think 150 pixels is too small. Whoops. We could do 200. Well, let's get our social media icons. Once we get these properly sized, that's going to help. I'm going to take this down to 200. And then maybe we could just do 0.5 on the top and bottom. That made a big difference. And then let's get our social icons. So we do need these to be, right now they're 48 by 48. They need to be 48 by 48 because that's the acceptable tap target, but the icons themselves are too big. So that's an easy fix. So main social anchor element. This is the anchor element. We want the padding to be, so let's think about this. So if we do padding of 0.5 rems, that would be a total of a rem of padding. I think if we do 0.75 rems and then main social SVG, we would make the width 1.5 rems and the height 1.5 rems. Yeah. So now we've got, oh, and we need to make sure that this is display block. Anchor elements by default are inline elements. So when you add padding and margin or border to an anchor element, you really do need to make sure they're display block or at least display inline block. We want block. There we go. Now we're 48 by 48 and our SVGs are nicely centered. So we have that nice 48 by 48 tap target. I don't think we need that much gap. So for main social, I'm going to change the gap. I'm going to say we need some gap, just not that much. Yeah, that looks pretty good. What do we think? Honestly, that looks great. I like it. I like it. I think that Nitpicks has their header contained. They do not go all the way to the ends. So it might be in our best interest for this nav container to kind of rein this in. This right here. So I think we should put a max width. I mean, this is pretty wide. What is this? I think it's 1200 pixels. So we could say max width. You can use pixels, it's okay. I do like to use rems though. 1200 divided by 16, 75 rems. Let's move this up. And then we'll do some margin. 0 auto. We need that to be a lot wider, maybe 1600. So 100 rems. Kind of feel like I should have been able to do that math. I think theirs is a lot wider. 1800? Let's try 115. That's pretty good. I think theirs is a little bit wider. They have a lot less padding too. A lot less padding. Need some padding. Maybe you just don't need that much padding. So here's our header. Where did I put the padding? Oh, we have to take out the margin here. Look at that. I'm like, why is that so juicy? Come on. Primary logo. It's an H1, so it has a lot of margin by default. There we go. There we go. Now we can control that a little bit better. There, what do we think? I think that's pretty good. I think that is pretty darn good. I think they have a lot less padding on that top banner. And I'm going to change this to have at least one rem on the left and right. I love it. I love it. Let's go ahead and style these. Well, how are we doing on time? You know what? Let's get a jump on how we're going to handle the on scroll events. So here's what I am going to do. I am going to make it so anytime we scroll at least 50 pixels, once we get to the 50 pixel point, we're going to add a class to the body that says scroll, scrolled, scrolling, whatever. We're going to add a class to the body. And here's how I'm going to do it. Well, I'll show you. So I recently did a project called Solo Masonry. Right here, where I did an on-scroll event where I changed the size of the SVG and I changed the size of the padding. And you can see here, there's going to be a body class on scroll. And that is how I change the opacity, the padding, the size of any SVGs, anything that I want to animate. We just need to add a class to the body on scroll. So I'm going to go ahead and write a little bit of JavaScript right now and show you how I did that. I don't have it memorized, but it's not very much, so I'm just going to copy it and prepare to have your mind blown. All right, so we do need to have right here a div. And let me figure out here. And the div is going to be aria hidden true. We don't want any screen readers to accidentally bump into it. And I'm just going to give it a class of on scroll. And this is what we're going to measure as soon as it scrolls 50 pixels. Let's go ahead and add a script.js file. We'll add this to our head. And we need to make sure that we have that defer attribute. and script.js. And then we're going to say document add event listener, DOM content loaded. Oops. Oh, hang on. Angela, get your act together. So we'll do on scroll. Query selector, on scroll. And then we're going to define, we're going to use intersection observer. And we'll say document, body, class list add, or rather toggle. A scrolled class is intersecting. And we're checking the root margin. And we're going to do it at 50 pixels. Just the top. And then observer, observe, on scroll. So we should get that class now on the body. Let's see here, what did I do wrong? Did I spell something wrong? Let's ask the master what the problem is. Hello. I'm having trouble with this JavaScript. parameter 1 is not of type element. Yeah, there is. Oh my God. Well, it's good. Okay. Those are honestly the best mistakes to make, right? Forgot the period. So here we go. Now it's working. The struggle is real. The struggle is real. So now it's working. Now it's working. Now we get our scrolled class. So we can go. So what is it that we really want to do here? I'm going to argue that we could just change the opacity. We could transition the background color. We can also on scroll, we could go from fixed to sticky, which is what we're going to want to do for mobile. And then on scroll, we could transition so this doesn't appear, this top border. Yeah, just like that. And we could make it less opacity to full opacity. So that's what I'm going to do. So first let's make it so, whoops. Let's make it so our top banner disappears on scroll. So we do see it scroll out of view. So I think we would want, I feel like we would want, the entire header to be fixed and change to, well, I feel like we would want the entire header to be fixed when it's not scrolled. And then when it's scrolled, we want the header to change to static and the nav container to change to sticky. So position, I'm going to change this to position static. I don't know if this is going to work. And then scrolled nav container can be position sticky. Well, we would want the header, though, the parent container, to be relative. That would have to change to being relative, right? Let's see what happens. That doesn't work. So, oh, it doesn't work because the parent container scrolls out of view. That's why that doesn't work. Yeah. Oh, I have to think about this. Maybe the banner can't be part of the header. But in order for it to be out of the flow and over top of the hero, it has to be fixed. So we still need, okay. So we still need the header to be fixed. So that's not going to change. So we just have to change what we do with the top banner. That's all we have to do, is we have to say, we have to let this kind of scroll out of the window. Oh, I really want to look at the nitpicks. I really want to look at the nitpicks DevTools. Oh, this is such a good challenge. So if we made, well, let's just do sticky. Let's just change it to sticky. Yeah. So we go from position fixed to position sticky. And how tall is the banner? The banner is 34.4. So maybe it's position sticky top 35. Oh, opposite direction. It goes in the other direction. Negative 35. Yeah. We just have to make that a little more, we just have to transition the top and make it look like it's scrolling. So on the header, transition, can you transition the top value? I think you can. 300 milliseconds. Probably want to do like a linear, right? What? No, stop it right now. How did I figure that out? Get out of town. How do you not love front-end development? Needs to be a little faster. 50 milliseconds. A little slower. Yes. It's a little like, it's kind of janky, right? Maybe we just need to adjust this. So maybe we make that 35 pixels too. The jankiness is that it goes from fixed to sticky. So maybe we don't change, whoops, we don't change it from to sticky. We just keep it at fixed. There it is. What? How do you not love front-end development? Stop it. Okay. Now, let's change our opacity. So our opacity right now is right here. So we can just do and we'll just make it 100%. And then let's make sure we're also transitioning. So I think we can also do so we'll do background color. I'm going to do, whoops, I'm going to do that at 300 milliseconds, and that is going to be ease in out. It would be more impactful if it had less opacity. And if we have a fairly solid background image, look at that. What? Stop it. I think 65 is a little too light. Let's go with 75. You guys, I had no idea how I was going to do this. I didn't even think about it. So this is obviously thrilling to me. Okay, so let's keep going on our social icons. Let's style these social icons really quick. And I realize we're coming up here on 2 hours and I haven't done the navigation part of this yet. We are probably not going to get to it until tomorrow. This took a little bit longer than I thought it would. So tomorrow is going to be part 2 of the accessible mobile navigation. So let's get our SVGs styled. So hopefully people don't think I clickbaited them, because I thought I was going to get to that today. I just want to sit here and scroll. I just want to sit here and scroll because I think this is so cool. Okay, let's get these social icons styled. And then we're going to be all set tomorrow to finish up the navigation. You know, I write titles and descriptions based on what I think is going to get done. And that is what I thought we were going to be getting to today. So, okay, so main social. Social nav icons. So right now these have a background color of, well, I'm going to give them a background color of transparent. And then the SVGs, whoops, we're going to give these a, let's see, they're going to need a fill of black and or a stroke of black. I'm going to do both. And then on hover, I think I'll do, we could do gold on hover. So we'll do main social, anchor. I'm going to do background color, gold. If we don't like it, we don't have to do it. And then for our main social SVG, I'm going to do fill, whoops, white or stroke white. Let's see here. Oh, hang on. Oops. I meant to do this. Focus, hover, active. Same with this. So on focus, hover, active of the anchor element, we're changing the background color from transparent to gold. And then when we focus, hover, active the anchor element, we trigger the SVG fill or stroke, whichever it uses. Just like that. I don't love the gold. I don't love the gold. Let's try the maroon. And I do tend to give buttons like this, ugh, I can't believe I'm saying this, border radius. Just a little bit, 5 pixels. It does make it look a little nicer. Whoops. There we go. That does look nice, actually. And then let's give this a transition. We're transitioning the background color. I'm going to say 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. And then we're also going to transition our SVG. I knew you were going to say that, Malik. It's okay. It's okay. And I'm just going to use the keyword all, which covers fill or stroke. So now we have, look at that nice smooth transition. Just like that. Just like that. Oh, I love it. I love it. Look at that beautiful on-scroll transition. I can't stop it. What do we think? What do we think? And Rizzy, I know Rizzy, you left this comment a little bit ago. I do use vanilla CSS more and more. I have used Tailwind in the past and Bootstrap too. But most websites built using those tend to start looking the same. Yeah, that was kind of a big deal in the early days of Bootstrap. I mean, Bootstrap really came out like 2011, 2012, right in there. I remember it being a big deal. And I also remember thinking that a lot of those sites look the same. Yes, we love a border radius around here, people. I am going to admit that in some instances it's appropriate. That's as far as you're gonna get me to go. Anything above 0 pixel border radius means I win. I'll give it to you. You can have it. You can have the W. I'll give it to you. So you earned it, my friend. Let's do one other thing here. You see how this is kind of like blending in? The other thing we could do is that when we hover, just like on nitpicks, when we hover, it automatically gets that opacity. But also, let's give it a little bit of a border radius. Nitpicks doesn't do this, but I like a border radius anytime you have something that's the same color over top of something that's the same color, my preference is a little border radius. So let's do that. So let's give our header, excuse me, box shadow, not border radius, box shadow. So I'm going to give it 0 on the x-axis, 1 pixel on the y-axis, 2 pixels of blur, 2 pixels of spread, and then we'll do some RGBA 255. Oh no, actually, that's not what it is. There we go. So it's 0, 0, 0, and 10% alpha transparency. Now you can see we just have that tiny bit, and actually I am going to take the blur and the spread down. Let's go to 1 pixel. We just have this tiny bit of box shadow. And then let's make it so when you hover over the header, so we'll say header, just going to do hover. That's it. That's all we need. We're going to change the background color to 100%. Whoops. Now the difference is that we gave ours a little bit of transition. So this does not have a transition. I can't not put a transition. So when we hover, we go solid, and on scroll, we go solid. And we added a little bit of a box shadow. So what do we think? This is an excellent start. This is an excellent start to this clone, to this project. I love it. I love it. And Illusion says, would you please JavaScript explain on website side? I don't think I understand the question. I'm so sorry, Illusion. If you could clarify your question for me a little bit, I'm happy to explain anything that you would like me to explain related to front-end development, of course. RRC Gaming says, can I ask a question? Yes, of course. Front-end development related, of course. Go ahead. Let me know what you're thinking. This is a great start. So I did really think that we were going to get to the mobile part of this today. We have an excellent start. We are perfectly positioned to finish doing the mobile navigation tomorrow. So I think, so if you clicked on the thumbnail based on my title, I apologize. I thought we were going to get to that today. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the title for today and tomorrow's streams accordingly, and we will finish doing the mobile responsive navigation tomorrow. We have such a great start. So, and Malik says, I think they mean, can you explain how your JavaScript is working? So we used intersection observer. So there's more than one way to capture an on-scroll event. There's literally an event listener called On Scroll, but what that does is it's for every pixel that you scroll, the browser is calculating hundreds or thousands of times the scrolling that you're doing. So the on-scroll event is constantly working. Like if we did an on-scroll event and we console logged it, every time you moved up or down, it would just be lists and lists of console logs. It's got a fairly low footprint for a site like this that isn't going to use a lot of JavaScript. I actually think that that's okay. However, when I was researching the best way to apply an on-scroll event, ChatGPT, full transparency, ChatGPT told me that intersection observer is the cleanest, lowest footprint way to capture an on-scroll event. And it suggested just putting in a div, just like this, with the class of On Scroll, and then using intersection observer. So anytime that div went past whatever pixel value we specify, we could capture that event and add the class. This was the lowest footprint way of doing this. If you need me to really sit and walk through and explain the intersection observer API, unfortunately, I won't be able to do that for you. This is one place where I really lean into ChatGPT, is help with JavaScript, even for DOM manipulation like this. So I hope that is a sufficient explanation. Let's see here. Okay, I think that's it for today. What do we think? What do we think? I'm obviously thrilled. I just want to sit here and scroll. I just want to sit here and scroll. So come back tomorrow. We're going to finish making this header and mobile navigation responsive. We'll use a little more JavaScript. My approach to mobile navigation is that we do all of the heavy lifting with CSS, and we use JavaScript to capture click events and add a class to the body. Very, very similar to what we did with the scroll. So RRC Gaming says, currently learning full stack dev, completed my HTML, CSS, and learning JavaScript, but I'm really stuck on how to build a project. Let's see here. If I build a project using HTML, CSS, I'm totally stuck on responsiveness. You know, that's really common. So my approach is that I tend to go through and do all of the desktop styles first. I don't really worry too much about the responsive styles. So I'm kind of taking multiple passes at the document. I kind of do one thing at a time, get the desktop styles locked in first, and then I go in and I write media queries for how I need that layout to change to fit a smaller screen size. So if you want to see my approach, I'm going to be here every weekend building out this particular landing page. In fact, all of my projects show my approach for how I kind of go through first and I nail down those desktop styles, and then I go in and I add media queries for how I need my styles to change to fit a mobile device and go from desktop to mobile. So it's definitely a process. I don't have a hard and fast, like I can't tell you in a sentence or even just a paragraph the best way to do it. If you want to watch me do it, I can show you my approach, which I think is a pretty good approach and it's been working for me for a long time. So nail in those desktop styles, and then as you are scrubbing your browser window and seeing how you need things to adjust, write media queries for the individual sections, the individual items, to see how they need to move differently or be in a different position in order to fit a mobile screen. This is another reason why I give so much time and attention to my HTML, because to me, the mobile view is almost always exactly how the HTML is laid out naturally, right? Think about a desktop style where things are shifted around and we've got layouts and columns and grids and this is here and this is there. And then for a mobile device, you're kind of reverse engineering all of that. So all of these styles that you wrote for desktop, now you're taking almost everything and stacking it up to be in one giant column, which I would argue probably looks exactly like how you wrote your HTML. That's been my observation that was my observation from the beginning when I started learning how to design responsive. So think about how you are structuring your HTML and how your mobile layout is probably going to look very similar. So the desktop CSS is how everything looks when it's all stacked and side by side. And then your responsive styles are kind of reverse engineering everything that was happening organically with your HTML. Does that make sense? That has been my observation, or how I've looked at things over the years. I don't know if that helps or not, but I'm here every weekend building out these desktop designs and then making them responsive. So I'm happy to, I'm obviously here so you can watch me follow that process and answer any questions. So I don't know. I hope that helps. What do we think? What do we think, people? I'm shocked. I'm shocked at how well this worked out and how quickly I got it to work for me. So, and RRC Gaming says, thank you. I just randomly found your live screen on my feed and subscribed. I will definitely follow your live sessions. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you're here right now and you haven't liked the video yet, go ahead and do so. I would really appreciate it. We could maybe get this pushed out to more people who enjoy front-end development. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I'm here every Saturday and Sunday. I'm just practicing. That's it. I just enjoy practicing with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I've been doing this now for a little over a year, and my front-end development skills, I've been doing this for over 12 years. My front-end development skills have dramatically improved because as a developer at my old job, I was a manager, I had direct reports, I spent a ton of time in meetings, and I was also just doing a ton of other web-related things. I wasn't just sitting all day long building out HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I was doing maintenance and fixing bugs and managing junior developers and in meetings, and I spent a very small percentage of my time actually doing front-end development. And my skills were not fresh, not even close. They needed a lot of work. And over this last year, since I started live streaming and since I started working on so many more pure front-end development projects, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, my skills have gotten so much better, so much more confident. Oh my gosh. It's just been so fun. So practice is the key. I'm here every weekend and we're just practicing and having a good time. So with that being said, thank you to everybody who hung out in the chat. RRC Gaming. Malik was our mod in the chat today. He keeps things fast, fun, and friendly. He keeps things safe and moving along. Who else did we have here? Rizzy G. Honestly, thank you so much for the questions, the comments, the thoughtful comments in the chat. I absolutely love it. No one was here today. No one. I love having you as well. Idris was here. Idris, we love having you, formerly Memory Clips. And of course, our friend Nightbot, who helps keep the chat safe as well. Mumbai Server was here. Terry Murray was here. NCCB was here. I think NCCB is from South Africa. New subscriber to the channel. Welcome. We're happy to have you. All right, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. Oh, an illusion is still here. Animations and visual effects. JavaScript file, JavaScript adds behavior and functionality. How long does that take to learn? I think you're asking how long does it take to automatically, or maybe how long did I take to learn some of these things? It just, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I can like quantify the amount of time for you. I just practice a lot. Even in the early days when I was teaching myself to code, I was just so extremely nerdy sitting at home building websites. Like, my friends were out at the bar and I was at home building websites because I just thought it was incredibly fun. And I don't know, it took me a couple of years before I would say I got good at it. But I have to tell you, in hindsight, even when I was pretty bad, I thought I was pretty good, and I still managed to get jobs and get hired. And I was working steadily once I made the decision to switch careers. So, oh yes, the best way to learn CSS is trial and error. You have to just, take a course, take some tutorials to get introduced to the ideas and to learn the syntax and to see how another person works. But there is no substitute for just trial and error. It can be frustrating, but once you figure something out, once you suffer through the process of learning and fixing your own mistakes, you'll never forget those things again. It's the best learning. the best learning. So you just need to dig in and sit down, come up with an idea for something that you want to build and build it. So have a good day. I will see you on the next session, and I will definitely watch your present playlist related to front end. We got a lot of content on this channel. So everybody, thank you so much. This was so much fun today. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are. I will see you tomorrow, and we'll go ahead and finish up this header and navigation. Bye-bye.